Alright, I have had some questions about this traditional grind that I use. Turning gouges used to be made from flat steel, and they were forged into a U shape, the way a roughing gouge is still made today. That would have started out as a flat piece of steel, and it was bent into that U shape. Then back in the 50s or 60s or 70s, somewhere in that era, the technology to be able to machine a flute into a round bar was developed to the point where it was cheaper. It was actually cheaper to make a gouge this way than that way. Rather than forging a flat piece of steel, it was cheaper to machine a flute into a round piece of steel. And that's the way most gouges are made these days. The European style are still a forged gouge, but so if you have a round piece of steel with a flute machined in it, well, the easiest way to sharpen it is to just hold it up to the grindstone and rotate it. And that's how you get a traditional grind. Sharpening jigs like the Wolverine jig that use a pocket for the end of the handle were actually developed for that grind. You put the handle in the pocket, you adjust the pocket in or out until the bevel is laying flat on the stone, on the grinding wheel. Then you start the wheel up, you touch the bevel, and you just rotate it. And the handle is captured so it can't move, and you get a grind that goes straight around at the heel. The further you roll it, the further you grind back these side wings as you roll it around. And then they developed the side grind, where as well as rolling it, you're also swinging the handle, which takes a little coordination, more than I've got. So they developed the Grind jig for the Wolverine system. Has a pivot point. You put the gouge in the clamp, and it has a pivot point which goes in the pocket. You adjust it in or out until the bevel's laying flat on the wheel, and then it pivots. And that gives you this kind of a grind, which is a side grind. A little dirty, but it's a side grind. Where the heel of the bevel is almost like a parabolic shape around the flute. Now this is actually a more versatile tool. You can do more cuts with it. You can do pulling cut with the handle up, where the section just to the left of the nose is basically peeling the wood off. Or you can lower the handle and make your cut with the straight part of the wing oriented almost the way a skew chisel is oriented on a spindle. that gives you a more of a shearing cut rather than it's more of a slicing cut than a peeling cut. And then of course you can do shear scraping and angled shear scraping, and you can still do a push cut with one of these. So like that's 5 different basic cuts you can do with a side grind gouge. With a traditional grind gouge, you basically got 2 cuts. You either have it rolled over so that the nose is severing the fibers and the lower wing is peeling them off to hog waste away quickly, or you can roll it up and raise the handle so that the trailing wing is taking a shearing cut, and that usually leaves a pretty good surface. And they're both pushing cuts. I don't really see any way to do a pulling cut with one of these, but I prefer them for a pushing cut. The big disadvantage to that cut I just made if I'm using one of the other gouges in a pulling cut, I'm standing over here where I have a real good view of the profile that's developing as I'm making the cut. If I'm doing a pushing cut from behind like this, I can't see the profile, so I don't have nearly as good an idea of what shape is developing. And I had a definite change in direction right there that I wasn't aware that I was doing. And that looks reasonably good. Okay, so the outside of that bowl is done. I'm going to turn it around and do the inside. Could probably still stand to be cleaned up a bit. It's not running 100% true, but they rarely do. And since I can't do a pushing cut up the bowl wall because the headstock's in the way, I pretty much have to use a side ground gouge to cut back here.